Welcome to the Mystical Motherhood Podcast. This is Chelsea, and I want you to create a happy family. I use my background in Western and Eastern medicine, birth, and ancient yogic practices to help the modern mother learn how to live a healthier life and create conscious children. This is your guide to fertility, conception, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and the early childhood years. Are you ready to live the life of your dreams? This is Mystical Motherhood's episode number 28. I have an amazing guest from Hungary today named Agni, and she is a mother who went through the process of awakening after her beautiful daughter was born. She shares her story of how she communicated through images with this daughter in her belly, and then after she was born, all the amazing gifts that the child brought her, such as wealth and prosperity and groundedness, and also the capability of looking at all her belief systems in her life and changing her genetic line, and also her level of spirituality and understanding of the world around her. Read the bio for more information of how to find Agnes, and keep listening. Leave a message right into mysticalmotherhood.com with any questions or concerns. Thanks for joining.
Motherhood, like personally for me, has been a very, very interesting journey, and I still feel that I don't have all the answers to this. So I'm looking for like sources to understand a little bit more, because I think there is this really big paradigm shift around motherhood. Mm-hmm. And right now, I think like the normal, like in Hungary, let's say, the normal way of preparing for conceiving and, giving birth and stuff like this is what obviously the medical way is very much supported.
Yeah.
Which I don't find connected to. And so I'm looking for sources, basically.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Have you read the Mystical Motherhood book?
It's coming to me. It's going to be arriving today.
Oh, good. Yeah, you'll like it. So what I did in that book, and my next book is different, is and you'll read it and you can always write me with any questions or anything. Mm-hmm. So everything you think, feel, and your environment and you eat programs the baby within this belly. So are you going to have another baby soon? Are you planning on it?
Not right now.
Not right now, but you can tell other women in your group, and then it also, you can understand. I mean, it's so our genes are programmed in that certain way. So I think we kind of look at motherhood now as all of us, we get on birth control, and then we're on birth control for so long, and then all of a sudden we want to have a baby. And so this is typical, right? We drop off birth control, and then we're like, now I'm going to get pregnant. But we really didn't look at the mental, the spiritual, the physical attributes of what it really takes to be a mother. So either the awakening, which might have happened with you, the awakening process can happen when you're in motherhood, or it can happen before motherhood. And so what I'm hoping, what Mystical Motherhood would do, is that it almost happens, it's going to happen somehow when you have a child in some shape or form, as we all know. And each of these children that are coming in are actually way different than us, and they're going to have these higher energies. And in order to hold them within us, and in order to be a vessel for that type of energy to come down to the planet, we need to clean ourselves. And so Mystical Motherhood is about cleaning all the parts of us, from the most basic stuff to like the really high spiritual things, so that we can hold these type of children.
Right. And I wish I could have done that. I had done that before my baby. I didn't, but it's like I found that I'm doing this kind of work through motherhood. So I find that it's also possible to clean all the beliefs and everything after giving birth. So, but of course, much harder right now, but I do find it fascinating how it works.
Yeah, because you're knowing as a mother that you're going to program the subconscious of the child. So the subconscious of the child, up until the age of 7, really, and kind of until 11, and you'll read more about this. It's it's like a movie. So everything that the child is seeing, it's not good or bad. It's just a
Yeah.
movie theater. And so it goes down into the subconscious, and then later in life, it's the programming for the child's whole life. And
That's
so
right.
what a lot of women around the earth are doing, and they're looking for resources of why am I doing this, is that it's changing on the planet, and it's time, and the women are changing. And so what we're doing is we're actually changing our genetic line without
That's
even knowing why or how we're doing it. But it's kind of like, I think what's occurring is all of us are saying no more. It's not, it ends with me. It ends, this genetic, these belief systems, these negative experiences ends with this generation, and my children won't have this. And it's kind of a cut off from the previous families. Do you feel like that's what's happened to you?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
So tell me about your story.
Well, I would start from somewhere. I was 29 when I got pregnant, and it was the last time when I was together with my partner, and we decided to break up after this lovemaking. And obviously, I didn't know that I was carrying her already. So, like, after 2 weeks, I called him up saying, like, look, we have a surprise from the universe, So that's how I conceived Bodo. Her name is Boruka, my daughter. And I felt like the universe is calling us for the last tango, let's say, because it was such a strong experience that I was parting from someone. I knew that we are not meant for each other. But then still, I was carrying his baby. So I was there thinking that, he's not an ideal father, let's say, or he's not an ideal person to be with. But I was at a point where I could decide if I'm taking this. I really felt it's a gift from the universe. And I could really connect to her soul already. I knew I was carrying a girl. I knew, I could just connect to her soul right away. So, like, abortion was out of question because I felt blessed, by carrying a baby. So, so we kind of tried to work it out with the father to be together, but of course it didn't work out, and it never did. After all, but yeah, I mean, we decided to have this baby and to be the parents for this baby. So it was and the interesting thing was that I wasn't connected to my body at all. I wasn't aware of my ovulation. I was working very hard at a cultural center. So I was in this very yang energy of working, putting everything together, organizing. So I wasn't connected to my feminine side. I wasn't even looking at my cycle, So I think it all happened. I know that it all happened for a reason, because on the other side, so I wasn't connected to my body. And but on the other side, I knew that one of my life purpose is to clean my history and to clean the history of my family, and to heal my wounds, to heal my the parts which are not healed yet. So I knew that was my life purpose, and I wasn't going into that direction, okay, because I was making a career, so I wasn't going into the direction of healing myself. But I think, and I know that my higher self said, okay, this is your time, to get back on your track and heal yourself and then heal others, because I know that this is my life path. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was so right now my daughter is 3, so I did a lot of obviously meditations and healing techniques of why this pregnancy happened to me in this way, and what was this call from the universe. And right now I know that it just put me on my track, but it was like a highway track, okay? It's not like before having a baby you have years or months.
It was a fast track, right?
That was very fast.
So this isn't uncommon. So it's like what's happening on the planet is like the energy, and I'm not trying to be crazy, the energy is stronger. Things are moving faster. We're in a new age now. And so there's no more time anymore. I mean, there's no such thing as time, first off. So you could, we could be an awakened world in a split second if we all decided in that moment it's time to awaken. And so mystical motherhood is all about women awakening through their journey and clearing their lines, really. And you're doing that. So that's really beautiful. So it sounds like the energy of your child, she's got like an angelic energy.
She has, absolutely.
Yeah, she's very soft. And so she helped you bring the feminine in. So and you'll find out when you read the book, Mystical Motherhood, is each child has its own gift. So some children maybe will bring money. Some children will bring, or abundance or the femininity, but that's one gift the child brought. Did you find that it actually kind of clicked in around 4 months out of curiosity? When did that really feel like you got to know the baby when you're pregnant?
I started to have there is this guy, a psychologist, who invented the method of talking to your baby through visualization.
What's his name? Can you send me that?
Yeah, I can. I don't remember his name right now. What's his name? Can I send you this info later on? So I ended up doing this visualization trip with his wife, who was a mother of 3 at that time. So what happened was that we went, and I think I was 3 months pregnant by that time. So we started to discover this baby who was inside of me, and I started to talk to her, and we started to send pictures to each other and sensations, and she opened up beautiful world. And partly I really wanted to connect to her, because just to prepare her for what's coming, because obviously it was a very rough time. I didn't have enough money. I didn't have a partner. My family lives far away. So I wanted to prepare her. And the thing was that she had such a strong and pure energy, and she was so sure of what was going to happen. And my aim was to support her, and it turned out the other way around, that she was actually supporting me from saying that it's all okay. She is prepared. She's she used to send me pictures of beautiful lakes, beautiful forest, and she would send me pictures of she's a great hiker. I can tell you that. She's 3 and she can climb up on any mountain, and she would send me pictures literally that she would climb it's I would see her she's 3 years old, and she's climbing up a 2,000 meters high mountain. So she was sending me pictures of herself, and she actually chose her name because her name is Boroka, which is a pine tree. So I saw this very interesting picture of she's jumping on pine trees with a big red hat. Yeah. Almost like a kind of dwarf, let's say. So, yeah. And she's very much a nature girl. She's almost a nymph. I would see her as a nymph. So she's very often you can't put shoes on her.
She's angelic, or she's got a fairy energy. That's what I saw, a little ding-a-ling, that kind of energy.
Yeah. That's right. And she walks barefoot all the time. So even in the city, it's hot, and we live in Budapest. It's the capital of Hungary. So, but she doesn't want to wear shoes. She wants to walk barefoot all the time. So she's a very determined child, let's say. She knows what she wants. And I had another very interesting experience with my mother. She's a gardener, okay? She's a very grounded lady. She has this touch to earth. She's working with plants, so she's not exactly a spiritual person, let's say. And she had, on the very same day I was conceived, Boro, she had this huge, she had this vision that a baby was coming to her family like a meteor, okay? So she had this vision that this baby is coming to our family, not just to me, but like for this extended family. And then she tried to talk to her. She tried to ask her, like, do you think that is the good time? Because obviously she knew, our relationship with the father and everything. And she started to talk to her, like, question a little bit. Is it the right time? And are you ready? And I don't know, stuff like this. And she wouldn't listen. She said, it's all right, grandma. And then she came down as a meteor, So we all, like my whole family started to have these, I would say that these are awakened experiences,
Yes. Because those are the kind of kids that are coming through, and you have one. And so I have to commend you, because you giving the visualizations and talking about the baby giving visualizations back is quite an awakened experience. That's not common. I mean, that's common for you, but from the work I do and the people I work with, and even where my consciousness was when I was having my babies, like your consciousness was, she came in and obviously upgraded you. Does that feel true?
Absolutely.
Right. And so the kids are doing that. And so either we can and then I bet you when she came, did you have any help? Did it get a little bit easier, or was it super hard after she was born, or did you end up getting some money and getting a little?
I did. Yeah. There is another story, but I did. Absolutely.
It just worked out, right? Because she set it up like that. And so she helped you. And so what, if you're listening out there, you can ask the divine for help, and you can ask these children for help. And if they want to come through us so bad and they want to get down, you need to say, okay, look, I need you to get me an apartment. I want, if somebody wants to come through me, I need the partner that, if you were to have another child, bring me the man that's going to be your father, that we're going to do this together. I'm not going to do this alone. We need to start to ask, and you can tell your friends this in your group, is we can ask them what we need in order to make it work on the earth plane. And I've heard stories. One woman a baby wanted to come through, and she felt the baby. I don't know if for you, at least I know a baby's trying to come through. and I'm like, not right now. It's not time right now. This, it's not the time right now, but you may have had that at some point, and you'll have friends. Is it you can communicate with them and say what you need. So there's a story. A baby wanted to come through, and she said, okay, I need this much money. I need to pay this bill. I need to get this. And can you do that? And then out of nowhere, she had $18,000 transferred to her account. And it was, and they said, because she didn't say how to give them the money, right? She says, I need this much money. And so she looked at her account, something like somewhere between 18 and 45,000, something crazy to pay to get this home. And it was just in her account. And the Wells Fargo or some big bank had made a mistake and transferred the money, and then they had to transfer it back, but she had to go back to the baby and say, no, not like that. I need you to bring the money, but in a way that it's on the earth plane. Does that make sense? Just miracles will happen.
Yeah.
And that's a miracle that she's sending you visions, and you knew to call her by that name, and it's really magical.
Yeah, and I had a mortgage on my flat. I had a small flat, and then, out of nowhere, this NGO turned up and saying that they would like to support the families, so they paid the mortgage of my.
That's a miracle.
It is absolutely.
So you had a miracle, or you had a mortgage, and then the baby came, or were you still pregnant?
I think it happened after I gave birth. But I already lived in the apartment, so it was all okay. But of course, we had to pay the mortgage within a couple of years. Yeah. I think 6 years or something. And the NGO paid.
That's a miracle.
It is.
Anything else happened that was like that?
With her father, he was in jail for some time. Between when she was 1 and 2, and what happened was, first of all, I worked a lot with my my connection with males, with masculinity, let's say. Yeah. So at the end, he got out, and I think she was around 2. Yeah, when he got out. And he has this beautiful land, 70 hectares, okay, like a beautiful organic land. And he didn't know what his profession was really, because he was into raising cows before. He did a little bit. He did organic farming, organic producing milk, organic milk and stuff like this. But then he wasn't sure if what he wanted to do. So slowly he shifted to honey making. So he has this beautiful field, and he's producing biodynamic honey, which is an amazing thing. So, and I'm sure like Bodo being out here and needing him, and also kind of rising him and rising. So I'm sure I can't tell you how, but she was part of this, and she was part of him making him grounded and finding his profession and actually producing money, because he pays his childcare in honey, which is quite valuable. It's a beautiful product. So
it's a beautiful product, and it's almost like gold.
It is.
That's such an alchemical thing for one day, if you ever want to, we could do a reading on the child, but like, that's very alchemical, like honey. There's so many poems. You should really look up like the meaning of honey and why that would, of all the things, that, of all
and in
the ways to
Hungary,
make money. It's an interesting way that he did that, that she was a part of.
Absolutely.
And all of the things that are coming up through me is like the land of milk and honey, like Egypt, alchemy, all these ancient ways, and what all the different things honey is used for to heal the planet.
Absolutely.
And it's a really cool, this is a great story. It's beautiful. What about you? So what about some of the belief systems that you have? For me, I emptied myself. I had before I had my babies, I had a massive Kundalini opening because I went through this huge spiritual thing, and then I was fried, and I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that I had to change my life. And then I got one pregnancy after the next, and with my one baby, I worked on myself spiritually probably every week or twice a week while pregnant, kind of emptying out my belief systems of, I'm not worthy to, it's okay to be abused. The masculine can be mean to me. Like all of our things. One chakra after the other. It was a 2-year process. And then the next child, I was a lot clearer. And she had a different type of energy than the first. But how did you work on yourself like that?
Yeah. One thing is that in Hungarian, in our language, womb and honey, no, womb and bees is the same word. So we say me and me. So when we refer to the womb, it's bee in Hungarian. So there is this connection. There is this etymology.
Well, bee is actually also the symbol of the priestess, of the ancient priestess line.
That's right.
So you may want to look at so I know that one of my daughters is a Hathor. I know she is. And so that's, from a serious start. Go really into the spirituality of that, but once you become more awakened, you'll find where these children are coming from. And a lot of them have never even incarnated on this planet. And so going back to speaking with them is like in the book Mystical Motherhood, I talk about you have to speak to this child as if it's never been here. As if it's the way that somebody explained it to me is this is a dishwasher. And you put a dish in it. We use dishes, and we put our food on it because here we eat food. And then you put it in your mouth and you put it in the dishwasher. But you're telling the child and programming the child in the stomach that this is what it's like on planet Earth. Because if you're going to be the type of woman that can carry these really high souls, we have to come to some understanding that they have maybe never been incarnated in a body. And they're still in this light body. So they're not as shocked when they meet Uncle Joe that's yelling and smoking cigarettes. You're like, no, that's Uncle Joe. Remember, I told you about him. So the visual and the thoughts are really important, and especially back to the belief systems of if you're feeling fat your whole pregnancy, it's a guarantee you're programming your child to have that same thought form. And we all can't help it. You gain, 50 pounds or whatever. It's hard. And so we all have women. I mean, do you agree with do you guys ever talk about this in your group, or did you have any experiences like that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I did. Well, first of all, I wanted to give birth at home.
Yeah.
So I kind of talked to her, and my apartment was on the third floor, right, with really high ceiling and with lots of stairs, which I had to do every single day, and I had to carry stuff and stuff like this. So I talked to her that please help me not to gain so much weight, but also to be, I did ask her to help in this, so I would be able to go on, to go up on the stairs every single day, and also to maintain my vitality and to be able to give birth at home, to have a very strong core and a strong foundation. So obviously I did yoga I had like my routine every single day.
You have to train to give birth at home. Everyone, you can't just roll in and be like, I'm going to give birth now. No, it's like a marathon.
Yes, a marathon. So what we did, we used to, like, the first couple of months, after the third month, obviously, because I was like really sick in the first 3 months, but we would climb mountains together. So I would, and I trained physically to be able to give birth at home. And when I was 6 months old, pregnant, there was this very big festival for New Year's Eve. It was a retreat. And we did walk on the fire, on the ashes of the fire. And she's also a fire type of child. So I was asking her, like, okay, do you want to go through the fire? Do you want to walk through? Can we do this together? And she said, she was like jumping in my stomach, and she was like, so, okay, let's go for it. Yeah, she was amazing. She really was amazing. So what happened was that, because we prepared consciously for giving birth at home, and I asked her to help and, to be safe and everything. And my mother, since she's a farmer, she was she was supposed to be born at the end of March. I knew exactly the day when she was conceived, okay? And my mother was really busy. I was waiting for my mother, obviously, to help me around with the baby. And she couldn't come on time, okay? So the baby, Bodo, was waiting for her to arrive and to kind of make a nest together. So we could, we needed some time with my mother to get used to each other and to be able to, well, it's a teamwork, okay, to raise a family. And so she waited another 2 weeks before she came out. So we obviously we needed this time to settle in, to prepare everything, the last touches. And I remember I was called by the hospital, okay, every single day, looking at the heartbeat and everything. And they were kind of threatening me already. It's a big topic in Hungary, this home birth thing. I don't know, you might have heard of some cases of Agnes Gerib, who was conceived, who was she was in jail for a couple of years. Because
tell me after you finish the story. I want to hear that story.
Right, okay. So what happened was that I was literally going to the hospital, and I was threatening, okay, you need to stay here. Your child is in danger. And I knew she was perfectly okay. And I gave birth after 2.5 weeks of my due, So it was like, from the medical perspective, of course she was in danger. But I knew that she's perfectly all right. And she had all the tests done beautifully. And I talked to her that, okay, we are going to the hospital. We don't want to give birth here. We want to give birth at home. So please try to make up some good results. And, she did so.
Yeah.
So I had this really... So we were a team from the beginning of doing this together.
That's beautiful. And then how has it been since she came, other than miracle that your mortgage was paid off? That I've never heard. That's a good story. That's a really that's a great story. I want, has there anything else that you've kind of seen about her that is different, or that you've had to manage differently? Because my kids came in with a ton of activity, And so they have more activity and more movement. They walked really quickly. They talked really fast. And so it's been a lot for me to be like, okay, how do I handle them? You know, I need to write a whole other book on that, and will. But like, how have you handled her? And what do you do to not like, for me, it's always like, how do I not react my old way of reacting? It's like, because there's so much going on with, I have like almost kind of twins, but they came separately. I mean, how have you changed by having her around?
Well, first of all, going back to the belief systems, as you know, obviously when you give birth, the child is going through your root chakra. So these were activated, and also my breast. So, you know, obviously my heart chakra. So I found myself with this, that all my chakras were kind of open. And obviously when you conceive, you know, so you're like a channel also when you give birth.
And a chalice. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what happened to me was that all my chakras were like really clean, well, like open. I wouldn't say that they were clean because they were full of stuff. Okay. So what happened was that I remember telling her when we had a difficult time, she would just cry or not to sleep or whatsoever. So I remember I would just tell to my 3 weeks old child that, look, you know, I'm a channel, I have things coming to me, and can you just be a little patient with me? Just give me 5 minutes so I can kind of put myself together, you know, balance my chakras and balance my channel, because do you know what I mean? So it was like an extraordinary experience of me.
I know what you mean.
Awakening and also needing time for myself to put myself together, because obviously my inner child was very active, you know?
Yeah, and especially if you don't heal it before. So like, are you talking, my one question is this right after birth? Are you talking about when you're so sensitive and so open?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and so anyone who's listening who's had a child or is planning on having a child, that's why the 40 days postpartum, the yogis say, stay in the home. And don't go out. I mean, like I did little walks, and I didn't know that on my first baby, and on my second baby, it made all of the difference, because not only is the sensory system and the nervous system of the child not fully intact, but like, you're fully open, and some women can't feel it. I don't know how. I've asked them, like, are you sensitive? And they're like, no, but like maybe they've already cut their body off. But you're saying you got more connected to your body through this baby.
Absolutely.
And so for me, it felt like I had no protection around me. Like anybody who would come in the room, I could feel, and I already feel them, but it was triple, double, you know, everything. And so it's like you have to go into a little cave, and the two of you need to be connected and just get to know one another, and don't listen to anybody else who tells you anything different, because it's real, right?
Absolutely. So I had a list of friends who would come and visit me and bring me food every single day. Yeah. I organized it like that. My mother was there for 2 weeks, so that was good. But then other family members, my brother and the father, would appear sometimes. But I had like a strong group of friends who would come and cook for me, you know, like really good food, vegetarian, mostly vegan food. So you really need a support group around you.
Yeah. And then, so the belief systems, how have you began to heal them since she was born?
So, going back to this priestess thing. So I was drawn to this Priestess School when Bodo was 1.5 years old. So because obviously becoming a mother is like a rite of passage. That's what you say in English, right? Mm-hmm. It's like a kind of initiation. And I felt very much interested in rituals, like because mine wasn't so originally I'm an anthropologist, so I'm like really interested in rituals. And I found out that although I spent like years of reading about African tribes, you know, how they do things, about their own rituals and stuff like this, and here I am 30, finding myself not having rituals for myself or for my kid or for my motherhood or for my femininity. So I found out that there was this really big lack of of me being able to celebrate myself, to celebrate my body that I gave birth, to celebrate my femininity, you know, the way I nurture, the way I am on earth. So I got interested in this, and of course I needed to heal my belief systems. So I went to this Priestess School, and I did like a 9-month training. It was womb healing, and you know, initiation rituals when you first start menstruating, and before your first lovemaking, or before you become a mother, or before you become a grandmother, you know, these kind of initiations which help you to step on that level, because obviously, you know, womanhood is about rising up. That's so clear. In Hungarian, woman means growing. That's what in Hungarian, in our language, when you are a woman, you grow. That's what it means. So I did this school, and I had a special healer. She's using theta technique. I don't know if you've heard of that.
But I'm not familiar with it. But I.
So I think it's similar to your work, because it's just basically cleaning and letting go of all belief systems, like my fear of masculinity, I found out that I had an abuse story in my family, like a sexual abuse under 3 years.
Clearing the genetic history. That's so important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what I found, and the other thing is, so I had this Priestess School, and I had my personal healer. And every single time I did a healing or whatever, I go home to my child, and her eyes, the change in her eyes, you know, she looks brighter. She doesn't have this cloud in her eyes. Like literally, I would see the change physically on her. In her.
That's cool.
It's like so amazing. Even her movement, because, you know, she was 1.5. Okay. Yeah. So she was in this process of growing every single day. So I would just see like her movements become clearer and more grounded. So it was she was like a material of growing, I can't explain it to you. Do you know what I mean? It's
I do know what you mean. You don't.
Yeah. So this change in her, it's like, it was hilarious.
You're changing the environment, and you know, in the book you'll see a lot of. Have you ever done Kundalini Yoga before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have.
So I use a lot of, because it's fast. I like it because it's fast and it's easy. You only need like 11 minutes and it works, right? So in the book, there's a lot of Kundalini Yoga. So if you have any friends that like want to clear that stuff, Kundalini works really quick, and it's really effective in the pregnancy. Yeah. Anyway, but I love this womb work. Have you read the book Sophia Code? Sophia Code, the Sophia Code. Have you read that?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, have you read the book called The Sophia Code?
No, I have it on my list.
Yeah, read that now. Don't skip all other books, okay?
Okay.
That book will change your life. Yeah, it'll help to integrate all the priestess lineages down in through you that are trying to come through you.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
amazing.
You'll really like that.
I remember going to visit the Priestess School for the first time. I took her with me to kind of show her where I'm going to be the next year. And obviously I was missing for the whole weekend, so I had to prepare her. I remember her going into the right to the sacred table of special initiation oils and special objects. And she would I remember her picking up the right oil and holding it and putting it to the right place. So, obviously she has this knowledge.
So that was
she knew, totally.
So it was, that's not an accident. We just talked about the honeybee. So the honeybee, again, you can Google
absolutely.
that. The honeybee is a representation of the priestess. So you'll often have a honeybee land on you. Like they're always around me and when I work, and I didn't understand it until I was like, why are these honeybees everywhere? And then finally I was like, oh, it's the priestess work. And that's the symbol of, because it's the queen bee. So if you know what the queen bee does, the queen bee. Yeah. I mean, and even with genetics. So this is in my next book called Fertile that I'm writing. I write about I didn't even realize it as I was writing it, but the queen bee and all the worker bees all are genetically the same. But the queen bee is fed a special food, and it's a special jelly, and it becomes genetically different than all the other bees and lives for 20 years and is able to maintain the entire beehive. But it looks like the queen would like not be working hard, but the queen's working harder than all the other bees, really.
Right.
And you know, producing and constantly giving. And it's like, that's the energy of the priestess. And
That's
so
right.
the honeybee thing is really cool. Really cool.
It is.
And then you going into that priestess lineage to clear this male line. That's amazing. That's so many miracles, and she just came.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
yeah.
amazing. Yeah, so read the Sophia Code, and things will start to shift for you.
Amazing. Thank you for the hint.
Yeah. I was immediately, when you started talking about priestess, it's a really good book, and then you'll start to understand, and then the Magdalene would want to come through. I don't know if you know about the Magdalene energy, but you know there's the Rose energy that you can do some research on, and every woman, if it's like you'll be called. You cannot stop it when you want to learn about the Rose line and you want to learn about the priestess energy, and it'll come in different forms, and then as the initiation starts to happen on the outside, it most likely also becomes an initiation process on the inside, so that the world, your inside is a reflection of your outside, so that they actually are really testing you on ground on the earth to help you to be able to become strong enough to test other women or to help them grow.
Right. Oh, I already feel this. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll start to have, I mean, it's like the awakening processes is like coincidence. I mean, it starts out with coincidences and symbols and music and the
That's
sound,
right.
and you're like, why, you know, and then why is this happening, and why is this happening, and you just and you can turn it up or you can turn it down. So it's the 8th chakra, which is like a I'm just telling you this because it seems like you need to hear it. It's like you can turn it up a little bit and you can turn it down like a dripping faucet. Like the universe is sort of like, do you want a couple of drips or do you want to put downpour?
Yeah, I'm struggling with this right now. Thank you
So
for
what's
saying.
your question around it?
Well, I've got this super sensitive, like I'm in the shop, okay? Or I'm learning to drive now. And I find myself communicating with the earth, and kind of I just had this vision like a week ago. Okay, I'm trying I'm learning to drive, and I have this vision coming from Gaia, from Mother Earth, of this path of rose quartz. Rose quartz, is it rose quartz in English? Because I'm also trying to set up groups. So I have all this information coming to me for this healing for other women. And I literally had to stop the car and say to my teacher, listen, I need like 10 minutes to get into this vision and digest it or kind of store it somewhere to pick it up later. But the thing is that I find myself that this channel is very open and I can't really bear the city. So it's too noisy for me. It's too dirty. It's like I see everyone, obviously, you know, all the energy kind of, I see, and I rather feel than see them. So your city life is too harsh for me right now, and too, let's
But that's
say.
also a belief system. So you can also, or did I interrupt you? I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, it's just I don't know how to cope with, like, I'm super sensitive. I literally like hear and see everything, and I find it hard to keep my center. I do breathing and I use essential oils. Essential oils are great for me and stuff like this, but it's like it's just too much, you know, too much information is coming to me. I can't handle it right now. So yeah, that's my question.
So first off, back to belief systems. So that is a belief system that you're holding that's inaccurate. So
Okay.
So it's another. So
That could
every
be.
thought we have is you have to ask as each thought comes through, is this true?
Right. Yeah.
And then you'll say, well, and then your mind will say maybe 100 things to prove it's true, and then you have to ask again, is this really true? And
Right.
this is Katie Byron's work, and you can write her name
Right.
down, Katie Byron.
Okay. Yeah. Know her.
And in that, is it true? Well, it could be, but it also could not be, right? And so you have all, like, essential oil and all that stuff is really, really great, but it doesn't get to the nitty gritty of your mind and your belief
Right.
systems. And so, like, back to Kundalini Yoga, I use that and I give that to people because it makes your nervous system strong enough to be able to live in a city and be a goddess. It's even in my next book, Fertile, I talk about how do we bring this high fertility, abundance, feminine into New York City? And how do we handle that type of energy and still be the feminine there? And that's what we all have to learn how to do, because
Absolutely.
the world, we're constantly going to be bombarded. Like, it's going to be like this now for much more intensely. Social media, internet.
Absolutely.
And we can't all go live in the woods. So there's specific meditation. There's one you need to write down. It's called the Gyan Chakra meditation.
Gyan Chakra.
Yeah, it's Gyan and then chakra. And you can do a YouTube video on it, and I can email it to you too. But that one's going to help you be able to handle whatever comes around, and you won't really care. It's also an abundant meditation.
Right.
So you'll start to do it, and it's like, at least what it did for me, everyone has a different experience with these really ancient meditations, but it will be like things don't matter as much. And your mind doesn't get trapped into the, that girl's doing that, or this is happening.
Right.
It's just and you because you create a shield around you of abundance.
Right, shield, that's what I need.
Yeah, you like that one. So it's not about the essential oils and all that stuff is really good, but like to get grounded and you have to as high as you're going with your energetic field, you have to go lower in order to put it on the earth. So constantly go down into the earth with the energy, because we can't bring it down unless we're on the earth.
That's right.
And you can't be effective, and you can't be an effective leader unless you've worked through your issues from the ground up. Because I see a lot of powerful healers. I've met them. They're my friends. I know a lot of wonderful people out there that are incredibly powerful, but they haven't worked through all of the issues that needs to be done to like become really, really clear. So you have to do that as a leader in this field that you want to, lead in, is to represent, to help and heal other women on the level that you want to do it. You have to clear out the womb. You have to clear out the bottom chakras, and you have to move from the bottom up, not from the top down. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I often find first of all, I started gardening because gardening is like really great thing. Grounding. And I never really taken this power for my family. So what I do is I do this root work, and I take what I need. So I kind of pick up qualities from my family which I want to grow. So for example, this gardening, I decided to take it from my mother and from my father because they are really great in this, but without all the struggle, without all the
you're taking the good part of the genes, not the bad part, right?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
So I started this gardening, and it's like this gardening is creating a community at a place where we are living right now. So we find each other, like all the neighbors are communicating, all the neighbors are watering the plants, especially women. So I find myself creating communities around me just by thinking of maintaining a certain quality. So I have this gardening thing, and I have honeybees coming to me all the time, coming to my garden, coming to the garden, to the common garden. So what I experience, and I often find myself kind of lying down on the ground, when I need a little bit of grounding, I kind of find myself just lying down there, okay, just to connect to Mother Earth a little deeper. And what I also do when we did womb healing and kind of cleaning our bottom chakras and belief systems. So what I would do, these were retreats. And what I would do, I would just literally sleep on the ground, like outside without any tent, just a little bit of, usually it happened for the summer. So I only needed like a sleeping bag. So what I would do, that I would kind of collect everything, all the dirt and all the, kind of black muddy stuff, this energy, which I want to get rid of, or belief systems or whatever. And I would ask Mother Earth to kind of soak it in. So I would just sleep on the ground and kind of in a kind of a meditative sleep. So I would just kind of wake up in every hour, listen to the birds, and kind of follow this work.
I
How
love
Mother
this. You're
is,
connecting back to fertility. And so
yeah,
so
and
what
Mother Earth is soaking this muddy thing out of me. I literally
you're
felt it,
allowing the earth to heal you. So so there's so many things
Exactly.
about this you need to understand why you're doing this. So first off,
Mm,
you can believe this or not, but the Christ codes, like Jesus Christ, if you believe that he's from another planet or whatever he was to everybody. I don't care about
mhm.
Christianity. I'm not religious, but he carried a consciousness to this planet, which according to a lot of belief systems, he actually put inside of the earth, in the core of the earth that grows up through the plants. And
That I
so
can relate
the
to
Christ
that.
they call about Christ consciousness or Christ codes or this is really
Mhm.
new agey stuff, but it's real.
Right.
What does that mean? And a lot of people can connect to that kind of energy, which is the heart energy. And so why is it so healing is because we are living our lives in our minds. And the
Hmm.
minds bring the worry, and the mind believes, like with the belief system, what you were just saying of, I can't be in the city because of this and
Mm,
that and that.
mm.
So
Yeah,
what
yeah,
it's
yeah.
about is creating these sanctuaries, just like you're naturally doing. So give yourself some credit of a Mother Earth, Christ consciousness, and
Mm,
feminine Christ consciousness on the planet within a plant garden in your community.
mm.
It's huge.
Yeah,
It's absolutely huge if you think about it that way. Another thing
yeah.
is fertility is like the rate of infertility is going to go up very high. And so
Mm,
women have forgotten how to connect back to Mother Earth, which is our
yeah.
best example of
Mm-hmm.
fertility that we have here. And so in this next book, I'm teaching women, okay, what does it look like to be fertile? Like, what is our sense and how does the sensory
Yeah.
system respond to that? So, what is when
Mm.
you're really fertile, or when you're really an awakened individual, or when you are like Mother Earth, all of your senses are heightened. Do you know what I mean by that? Because
Absolutely.
and so
Absolutely.
when you teach this to women, you've got to teach them how to heighten their senses through
Mm,
sound, which are all the ways we awaken.
mm.
When the source starts to come to us to awaken us, the source uses sound, smells, sight, like your environmental relations. And so
Mm,
that's can be a really part of your healing journey with other women is
mm,
how do I take a room when you become a leader, because you're going to be
mm.
over a 3-year journey. So you're going to
Thank you.
take a room and you're going to create like the environment of that healing, like use the plant energy and use all that, but use it's also the elementals and also the senses to create
Mm.
that fertility within the room.
Right. It's beautiful.
Does that make sense to you?
Mm.
Do you see that?
Absolutely. It started with I kind of feel that they started to prepare me from above or from down. I don't know. It's like a really deep thing what's happening to me, because I have these verses coming to me like regarding to the senses and the touch and feeling the nature, feeling the cities. I'm like a channel. I write poems every single day, which include the elements, which
Yeah.
include water, fire, everything. So I kind of go through this. It's also a channeling, but I really feel that I'm deeply connected to awaken and open up my senses. And I have
Yes.
these poems coming
Yes,
to
so
me, beautiful
that's why I'm
stuff,
telling you all
beautiful.
this. So
Thank
what you
you.
need to do is the best time, whoever's listening, the best time to write, and I mean, there's not a bad time, but really good times you have to always meditate and write as a new moon and a full moon.
And
So
I
as the feminine
mhm.
are really, and oftentimes most women, if you get off the birth control and you'll connect back to your periods, you'll bleed on a new moon, and I bleed on a new moon, and I ovulate on a full moon.
Mm.
And if you once you get into the cycle and connected to the moon, you'll have a pattern,
Yeah, I have
right?
this.
But then
This.
on those days, you set up an altar. So on those days, you've got to have all the elements in the altar. So fire, water, earth,
Right.
air,
Mm-hmm.
and then you
Mm-hmm.
have to connect to all those, and also connect to heaven, and also connect to earth, and then you
Mm-hmm.
go into your heart, because the Christ and the that kind of loving energy, it lives
Mm.
inside of the heart.
Mm.
And you from there, that's where that things will come through, but the sensory system is a part of the awakening. And so it's
Yeah.
almost like your mind is grasping your sensory system awakening,
Absolutely.
and your child
Absolutely.
helped to awaken that sensory system
Yes,
within you,
she
because a
did.
fully awakened human being doesn't see the world like everybody else.
No.
It's not dense. It's ethereal. Taste is different. Sound is different. Sensations are different. And so somebody listening might not even know what I'm talking about, but maybe in 3 years you'll be like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense as I'm starting to hear things or I'm starting to awaken fully, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
But one thing I want to say about you choosing the positive things about your family. So when I work with people, I often take them up to the 7th dimensional plane and I have them look down and I say, why did you choose your mom and dad?
Yeah.
And then we go through the good things and we go through the bad things. And I love that you chose to take the good things and utilize them because that's why you did choose them.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I was completely denying them for many years. Like I didn't want to pick up a single thing from them because I just denied them. I excluded them. I excluded myself from my family and from my roots. So what happened to me that I was kind of suffering through many years because I said no to them. But, saying no to them, no to my roots also means saying no to the good parts.
Yeah.
But kind of still containing the bad parts, you just can't say no. You just can't say no to your heritage. It's not. And also my child taught me how deep, she has this deep connection with my mother. So I'm like seeing them and my inner child is fulfilling herself just by seeing the connection between them.
Yeah.
And I just found myself, it's like I have this inner child work going on, which is obviously sometimes very painful. But I decided to face my heritage and to embody it, because that's the main point of embodying it, So it's a beautiful work.
It is. Thank you so much for sharing. And then you'll have a website up soon, right? And we can put it up.
That's right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to talk about before we end this recording?
Anything else? I just go through my notes for a second.
Yeah. And while she's looking at her notes, I want to let anyone who's listening know that you can find out a ton more information on my website at mysticalmotherhood.com. You can purchase the book Mystical Motherhood on Amazon. If you liked this podcast, please leave a review and share it with your friends because it's very helpful to women all over the world. And thank you for listening. But we're going to see if you have any more questions before. No?
Yes, I have something else to add regarding to this plane journey, what you said with your family. So I'm like living in the middle of Europe and Hungary is surrounded by these Carpathian bases. So it's almost like a womb kind of feeling here. So, and we have this sweet water, we have a lot of a huge amount of sweet water underneath the earth. So it took me a long time to actually see why I'm here. And
That's a very special place to live. So when you live underwater, the intuition of the area is risen. So all the sacred places on earth have all the places wanted to have water. So a sitting water is sacred. It carries a specific energy and frequency, which upgrades the place. So you like certain castles or certain places that are surrounded by water, like Ireland's surrounded by water, and it's the feminine energy. And so there's a lot of creativity that will flow through.
Yeah. So I find it very. So I would encourage people to find out, from this plane, why they are born to a specific place with a specific heritage. So
yeah,
I would really encourage them.
Yeah, and to even and then to even look at your family. And in the next book, Fertile, I tell them to what does the family tree look like? Who got raped? Why did this person have a miscarriage? And you'll find when you start to work with clients, if you want to do that, for example, I'd have somebody come to me that's had multiple miscarriages. And then I'll say to them, you've had multiple miscarriages. You need to go to your grandma and ask your grandma if they had multiple miscarriages.
Absolutely.
And then they find out from their mom, grandma had 3 miscarriages too. Well, guess who's going to clear it? That woman. And so she came in with the destiny of clearing the 3 miscarriages, had to go through that issues. And I said, well, you don't have to do that anymore. Let's clear you out. Get this memory out of your genetic line, because as energy is the same, it's as we're finding with DNA, it's all changed through the belief systems.
That's right.
And this is what science is proving. So why can't we change it, as a mother now? So teach, and you need to start to do some research on behavioral epigenetics, and you need to read a book by Bruce Lipton, okay? And then my book will be out soon, and you'll read that. It'll make more sense according to the womb and pregnancy. But it's about understanding how the belief systems and you'll like this book. How the belief systems, the diet, the thoughts, the emotions change. They change and program the DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I hope that helps.
Amazing.
Great. It was so great to talk to you.
Thank you so much for providing the space to share.